That is so bright in comparison.
Hey guys, so we have an in-depth view on how to add the amber turn signals to any American Jeep that is running the Oracle flush mount LED taillights. So you get the amber flashing turn signal with the red flashing turn signal on their taillight. What you're going to need is light so you can see where you're going, wire stripping tool so you can get the wires put together. I have an extra cutter that's better for doing zip ties, which you're going to need because you don't want the wires to hang down low and get ripped off by rocks and obstacles. Replacement pins and clips for the fender liners. Trim panel removal tools for the pins and liners you're going to remove to get to your front fenders. Phillips screwdriver, 10mm socket, and the extension is your preference. With that, we're also going to use something to connect the wires together. I like the heat shrink soldered joints. You use whatever you're most comfortable with. Some extra wire, and of course, the taillights and the new modules. All right, first step, these 3 silver screws right here, here, and here, we got to take off. Next step, we're going to unplug the 2 plugs underneath the bracket. This one and this one. Release the locking tab. Don't pull it too far out. And press and pull. That comes off. And this one just has a little tab on the side of it. You squeeze and pull. Now that's all free. After that, we are going to remove a lot of screws. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 screws. That one was fused into the plastic. Now we got to pull off this C-shaped bracket and just lift off at a slight angle and it comes right off nice and easy. And the last thing is we got to pull out this light. Now sometimes if you've had your taillights for a while, these can be a little stubborn to come out. Mine is not wanting to move, only on the one side. So I'm going to use the pry tool, get it under the corner here and just give it a little twist and it pops right out. And that, as you can see, has the 2-wire original module that comes from Oracle. So everyone can see the difference. It's very clear. This is the one we just pulled out with only 2 wires, white and black, and this is the new one that has white, black, and yellow. The yellow controls the amber turn signal, and this is, according to Oracle's website, is for Euro-spec or GCC specification vehicles. So now we're just going to slide it in where we pulled out the old one, or the original one, I should say. And just line up the pins and it drops right in. Next step, we're going to take that C-shaped bracket we took off just before and make sure the wire is going over the side away from the sensor. And it should slide right on the same way it came off, nice and easy. And you have to have the wire on this side because otherwise it'll get pinched under the bracket. Now we just put the screws back in that we took out. And I like to go with the 4 corners as a start. Sometimes this can get misaligned and when you go to put the screw in, it will pop suddenly into place. So just take your time, don't force it. You don't want to accidentally break this bracket because then you won't have taillights again. All right, all the screws are in. Now the next step, we got to put the, the horn part, the breakaway part that goes on top of this. All right, we're going to start with the reverse light. Get that plugged in, nice firm click. Now the park sensor, if your Jeep has that. If not, you just tuck this wire in the hole and hide it. Make sure you secure the safety switch. All right, I got all the wires massaged into place, all secured out of the way under the bracket. and coming out the bottom, and you can see the new wire we're going to run later on when we put this back towards the Jeep. Now we're just installing the 3 screws that we took out at the beginning. And that's the taillight reassembled. Now just repeat those same exact steps on your other taillight and you'll have 2 ready to go for the extra amber turn signal. All right, and now that we've got both taillights put together, you see we got our new wires. I'm gonna take a zip tie on each of them and make sure that they're secure so they're not flopping around, since one wire tends to be a little loose. And use my new favorite tool, the flush cutters, because it leaves nothing behind when you cut this off. Nothing to cut yourself on, nice and clean. All right, that's both of them ready to go. You're gonna roughly need about bumper to bumper distance in wiring, so just go ahead and pull that out. It helps to have an extra set of hands. And once you have that, we're gonna go ahead and cut that off. What I like to do is try to save as much of the wiring that Oracle gives you, and you can peel this back and completely fold it over on itself, just like that. And then with the flush cutters, you can get right up against that and save as much of that wiring as possible. It should be the 18 gauge. So that should be the right size, but we'll find out. And it should just pop right off. Go ahead and strip your wire and get the other end and get that stripped as well. And I know this is 14 gauge, the wire size does not match, but that's okay. We just need to extend the connection. And all right, since I'm using the heat shrink / solder joints, I'm gonna go ahead and get this all put together and try to keep it secured for when I go to melt everything and seal it, because it does also have glue and it helps keep the water out. All right, I'm gonna slide this over carefully. I like to spin it so it doesn't catch on anything. Just make sure to keep your fingers away from it because it is gonna get hot. Now we let it cool. Now that we've got the connection made on this end, we're gonna secure the wire to the factory harness, give yourself a little slack. We're gonna do at least 2 zip ties because we need to avoid the catch bar for when the door opens and closes. So let me get this first one on here to hold it together. Remember, leave yourself a little bit of slack. And now for the second zip tie. Thank you. Go ahead and get this out of the way so you guys can see better. We're going to run this wire along the harness about to here and down where these 2 meet. So we can keep that from interfering with that bar. Now it might be a little hard for you guys to see this while I do this, but I will try to be out of the way as much as I can. So got the upper zip tie and also added another one down here just in case. So I used 3 instead of 2. Now that we've got everything zip tied and secured out of the way, we're going to take the other end and we're going to run it through the circular hole in the body tub behind the taillight. I'll use a flashlight and show it so you guys can see it on your end. And that goes right behind the fender liner and out of the way, and you just start zip tying once you get down there and make sure you keep it from getting caught in anything. And just like that, the wire comes out just behind the wheel ball liner over top of the shock. You may need to finagle it a little bit to get it into this position, but once it's there, we can start securing it to the factory wiring harness, the frame, and the body. All right, we've made it to the front, securing the wire all the way up. And now we got to pull apart the inner fender liner. A flashlight helps in this situation so you can see all the clips and the 3 10mm bolts you're going to have to take out. Unfortunately, pointing to some of them is going to be difficult, but you have 2 in the rear at the bottom. And they are right there and there. Then you have a couple of these that'll have to get removed in order to get the liner out. I don't remember offhand which ones they are, but we'll figure it out. You've got another push clip here, and you have a couple on the back side. There's about 3 or 4. One 10mm bolt is there. The other 10mm bolt is there. The last 10mm bolt is in the front right here. And there's one more push tab Christmas tree clip all the way in the front behind the grill. The key to this install is the front fender wiring harness from Metro, the JP-TSH1. All right, since we already have the Metro harness adapter for our Boost Auto turn signal integrated mirrors, we already have the wiring installed in the vehicle that we're going to splice into to get the turn signal function for the taillights. So you can see the Y harness up above that this little wire is touching. This one is marked for passenger side turn signal. All right, so let's go ahead. Now that we've got the wire run to the front, we're gonna go ahead and make sure we can see copper. And we're going to go ahead and splice this down so we can, there we go, get another connection to the front to the adapter harness. And for this, since we already have this here, I'm just going to split the length in the middle to give us, all the slack that we could possibly need. And we're going to fuse these together at 2 on this side, 1 on this side, and solder it up. We've got the connection made. Now take your time, follow from the bottom up, and get all your extra slack out of the way and secured. And then it'll be time to put on the fender liner. All right, so we've got the wire secured from down by the frame, under the body, all the way up to the Metro harness adapter, all nice and tidy. Now the last 2 steps is the fender liner getting reinstalled and then putting the taillight back on. All right, so now we're gonna take the wiring harness, the factory harness to the light, and we're gonna plug that in. That's got a nice solid click and lock the red tab. And the last bit, we're gonna take the amber turn signal wire. We're gonna plug that in. And we're going to push that down in. We're going to secure the light and install the nylon bolt for the turn signal taillight combo. And with that, the taillights are in. And as you can see, we've got the American red blinking turn signal and the Euro GCC Spec amber turn signal, both going at the same time, just like the wife's Jeep. As you can see, the reverse lights still work, and we still got the flashing ambers at the same time. We'll link the part number and a link to the front fender adapter harness we used to get that wired up. And if you have any questions, leave a comment down below.